Welcome back. School bells ring for some students tomorrow. Others will return a week from tomorrow after the Labor Day holiday. It happens with COVID cases on the worrisome rise and arguments over mask policies now at a full roar. Oakland County announced masks will be mandatory in schools. And then on Friday, Wayne County followed suit. Macomb County resisting such a mandate. Let's talk about it with the leaders of the three counties. Very good to have with us today Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, Dave Coulters, the Oakland County Executive, and Mark Hackle, the executive from Macomb County. And Mark Hackle, I'd like to start with you as sort of, I guess, in a way, the odd man out right now. You talked this past week about wanting others to be able to make the choice, but I heard some criticism of you that you seem to want the decision on masks either kicked upstairs to the governor or kicked downstairs to the local districts, the suggestion being that you didn't want to make the decision. Is that any kind of an accurate read?
I think that's completely untrue, Devin. And I don't know where you heard that from or if you just made that up. But the reality is I've never said that the governor should be making this decision. And I fully support the governor in stating that this needs to be a local school district decision. And of the 21 districts here in Macomb County, they have all come up with a decision. They've worked with our health department since the onset of this COVID crisis. And even throughout this, and every one of them has a mask policy or a mask plan in place. They didn't ask me to make any decision for them. They're all very comfortable with the decision they've made. And some of them, it's going to be a full mask policy, but the other ones did something that's, I guess, if you will, using the word novel. They're using the kids as well as the parents to participate in the decision-making process, which is something we tend to omit. We tend to want to, I guess, if you will, make decisions for them, mandate, as opposed to allow them to participate in this. So credit to the schools here in Macomb County for not having to have me make that decision on their behalf, or the governor of the state of Michigan.
You know, Mark, it's interesting, though. I think we almost all respect the idea of local control, and yet can we all be in this together, given that we mingle in places other than when we're at school? I mean, in the communities, we don't have borders, obviously, between our counties. Would it help, Mark, if we were all doing the same thing, or is that not the way to go about this?
Well, I guess the question would be, let's talk about the Semcog region. The only two that have done it as a mandate are Wayne and Oakland. And again, I appreciate their efforts. But when we're talking about school districts in Macomb County, the 21 school districts, credit to them. They have mask policies in place. They're going to be working with the parents and the kids in some of the schools and providing incentive for those that do wear a mask. And so they didn't have to worry about making it mandatory. But those school boards were given the ability to make that decision. And credit to them, they have done that. And they have not asked us to step in and make that decision on their behalf. You know, I find it interesting. Folks are trying to get us to mandate that, and or the governor, as I mentioned before. Never have I said the governor should make this decision. In fact, I was the one early on that said, you know what, you need the locals to make their decisions, and school boards get elected. It's elected representatives of their districts. They're the ones that are elected to make these type of decisions, and working with those that are the experts. They've done that. They've already made their decision, and they've never asked the county to step in and take away their powers, take away their decision process. And I'm comfortable with the decisions that they've made, knowing that they're going to try to make sure that they're being very cautious with the kids. And some of them, credit to them, Mark, they're allowing kids to participate in this decision-making process.
Let me let your contemporaries weigh in here. Warren Evans, you agree or disagree? I guess if you disagree, if you agree with Mark, that would mean you don't like the mandate that Wayne County just put in place on Friday.
I think we started the pandemic looking at the science, and I think we're sticking with the science. The decision to have the mandate is mandated by the increase that we're watching really every day in the positive COVID tests. And so we have public health department, we have public health authorities, and we have public health law. And when it looks like the public health people feel and advise me that to err on the side of caution and to look at a mask mandate, that's the decision I made. I mean, school districts, I'm not arguing about what school districts do, but I don't think they have public health officials. They certainly are talking to us on a regular basis, and we've been giving them guidance for over a year in terms of the amount of positives that they're having in their communities and giving them advice about what they ought to do to mitigate risk. We just came to the conclusion that this policy makes sense, and we will hopefully not have to have it long. But if you look at some of the headlines throughout the country, we have in the South some school districts where hundreds of kids are now quarantined
Yeah, yeah.
because of the spread of the virus.
Dave Coulter, let me let you weigh in on your thoughts and thinking on this.
I can tell you that my school boards are relieved that the county stepped in, and the superintendents as well. You know, this is really a pretty simple issue if you don't look at it through a political lens. But school boards are politically elected people. They don't have health departments, and they're not public health experts. Neither am I, by the way, or Warren or Mark. So we rely on the public health experts. And if you look at this issue as a public health issue, I think it's pretty clear. I haven't heard any public health officers in any county in Michigan say that they didn't think that masks were an effective way to help keep kids safe. That's not a controversy at all. The only controversy is in a political sphere. So I think we, what I hoped we would do in Oakland County is take this out of the politics and let the educators and the teachers get back to what they do best, which is to teach our kids in person. And that's a key aspect of this. Last year, so many of our kids had to do remote learning, and we have learned how difficult and how harmful that was. There's a lot of learning loss. There's a lot of emotional and social stunt that happens there. And so we want to make sure that our kids stay in the classroom. And we think and by and large, our superintendents fully agree that a simple mask requirement until we're back to a moderate transmission rate in Oakland County is the simplest and most effective thing that we can do to keep our kids safe in school.
Mark, to that point, is there a certain level, and right now we have this high transmission level in most parts of the country right now, is there a certain level, Mark, that you're thinking changes, or you prefer to have everybody making their own decision no matter where we are on community spread?
Yeah, our health department has been very clear with the various districts that if there is a concern, if there's an issue, they're all talking about various percentages within their schools if they see that there's a problem. Again, they've been working closely with our health department, and if there is a concern or an issue, they're more than willing to engage or participate. The question becomes when you stop and you think about these recommendations from CDC. One of the, I guess, strongest recommendations is that kid 12 years of age and older be vaccinated. And that becomes the next question.
Yeah.
Do we mandate that? And I don't think anybody has any intention to try to mandate that people get vaccinated. Yet that is the I guess highest level of protection that we could provide for kids. So I would never even consider thinking about going to that direction if we were given an opportunity. And but if the locals, I don't know that they'd be able to make that decision. I don't think that would be one that would be warranted either. So again, we're fortunate here in Macomb County, as David just got through mentioning, our districts here in Macomb County are very comfortable with their decision. And we're going to continue to walk through this and work alongside of them throughout this entire process like we have from 17 months ago.
Let's turn a little bit now to include vaccines in the calculations. Warren Evans, Wayne County, we've got a much lower rate, obviously, in the city of Detroit than we want to see. Do you think it's time for any kind of further mandates as far as vaccines go rather than masks, or are you preferring to leave that up to businesses and venues?
Yeah, I think mandating vaccines, at least at this point, is not on the table, and I hope that it never is. I think people have to make their own decisions about this. There are religious concerns and other concerns, and I understand that.
Are you okay with businesses making such a mandate of employees?
Well, private employers, maybe even public employers at some point in time. Driven by the numbers, that's certainly possible if that's what's needed to protect the public's health. But at this point, I'm not even contemplating that issue. You have a big difference in Wayne County. You have about almost approaching 70% vaccination rate outside of the city, and a much lower rate in the city. As you know, I'm not responsible for the city, just for the communities outside, and 70% is a pretty good number.
Dave Coulter, I've got just a couple seconds left. Your thoughts on vaccines?
We're at 73% in Oakland County. Our residents did a great job, but I don't think anybody should completely take additional vaccine measures off the table because we're seeing our private employers, we're seeing our colleges and universities. And one of the reasons is because this pandemic isn't over. The Delta variant is very serious. There could be other variants along the way. And I think there are going to be consequences ultimately for people who don't get vaccinated. Getting vaccinated is still the best protection that you have. And secondly, the thing you can do is masks. It's the two best tools that we have. We ought to be utilizing them so we can get past this pandemic and get back to our regular lives.
Gentlemen, it is always really good to have the three of you together. I so appreciate you arranging your schedules to be with us today. Have a great week. We'll see you hopefully soon on a future edition of the program.
Thanks, Devin.
You bet. Thanks, guys. We'll take a quick break. Back with more in just a moment.